I assume you haven't watched 6 yet.
I've not watched 6 yet. I've been waiting to finish
Okay.
this out. So
You're gonna like it, I'm sure. It's a
I
good
really
episode.
like this one, man. This is the first episode where I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
there's something interesting and palpable and real happening here.
Yeah, they always save it for the end. Speaking of which, so next week we'll do this episode.
Mhm.
We have a choice of what you want to do next. We've got the boys, we've got Ms. Marvel, we've got the Orville. Why don't
Yeah,
you
let's.
just figure out what you want to watch?
I'm in the middle of Boys. Boys is amazing. But Miss
Oh,
Marvel
boys,
I haven't seen yet, so it'd be nice to do something that I wouldn't have to rewatch to do. So Miss Marvel sounds good. We can do that. Have you seen it yet?
Okay, yeah. Oh yeah. I've watched it. We're 3 episodes in. They're short episodes. They're like a half
Oh,
hour each.
okay. I've heard good
Half
things.
hour, 40 minutes each. Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, it's a teenage thing. So it's like the young kids and all their talking fast and all of their technologies and whatnot. But aside from that, it's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, I heard it's like aimed at children, but it is well done and well written. I was
It's
like,
well
okay, I'm looking
done.
forward to it.
They did the powers well. The drama is interesting. A lot of good family drama as they do nowadays.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so let's start the show. In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters, there are those who walk another path. Those who walk through the desert, who walk across worlds. There is one, a Jedi named Obi-Wan, and this is his story. Avast me, hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I be your Captain Charlie, the Professor Esther, and with me as always is me skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz, welcome to the show. Welcome to the penultimate episode, take a drink, of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Part 5. Obi-Wan plans his next move as the Empire, closing in, tries to draw him out. Our director this week, of course, is Deborah Chow. Our writers are, as always, Joby Harold, Andrew Stanton, and of course, it's all based on that work of that young, crazy, up-and-coming kid, George Lucas. Both Joby and Andrew get the written by credit for this. All right, Mozz. This episode.
Man, oh man, they really kicked it into another gear this episode.
Yeah, well, I mean, and this was because I saw, at first I was like, why are they always running? But they actually mentioned that they were actually in the process of evacuating everyone from this base. Because I thought, wow, man, that's like another base that they just have to evacuate. But they were like, no, we were already going to evacuate this base. We're already in
right. These are all like waypoints.
We got a ship ready.
They're just going from point to point to point.
We get to I probably shouldn't have closed that because I can't see. We got to see the fake Jedi again, so that was good.
Aja.
Aja, yes, Aja is back. And I like his character. I hope we get to see more of him. I really felt he brought a lot to the show. Because I do think that this kind of a character, this person who is the what's the word I'm looking for?
The everyman, the one of us.
Yeah, the everyman, and
swimming with like heroes and monsters.
Exactly. And it makes sense when you think about it that obviously there's going to be charlatan Jedi out there. There's going to be, same way you got televangelists, same way you got all kinds of preachers out there, all faiths that are, out there, even if they do good. And God bless them, some of them really believe they're doing good. But, they always take their bit off the top. And I like seeing him here, and I like seeing him kind of forced into an interesting spot because he's like, I kind of don't have any place to go because that Inquisitor lady attacked me. and now I'm wanted. So I guess I'm just like a Jedi now.
It's also a bit of like.
Put me wondering.
It's also a bit of like if a wrestling fan ever got invited into the ring. What could be cooler than that? He's been walking around pretending to be a Jedi. Now he meets a real one. Not only a real one, he meets Obi-Wan, and he's like, everybody's heard of Obi-Wan. Like, this is a dream come true. Like, this is everything he pretended to be. Now he gets to maybe find a measure of actually being that.
I mean, on some level, yes, but also on some level, it's great to be a wrestler until you hit the turnbuckle.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
like, and that's sort of like, oh yeah, man, I get to be a Jedi. Oh, now I'm hunted by the Empire.
Right. No, but he had an altercation with Riva, and look at it. He's back. He's like, let's go, man. I'm here. What are we doing? What's the plan?
Whatever we get next, if everyone makes it out of all of this alive, because you don't know yet, I would love to see if he ever makes it out, because we get revelations about Riva in this episode. I would love to see them in kind of a buddy series, just Riva and the fake Jedi.
For sure.
Riva and Haji Estri, I believe his name is. Yes, Haja Estri. Yes, that would be just awesome. Him and Riva, and just her not taking his BS, him just being a lovable lug. It could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I say you put Haja with anybody. Put Haja with Leia. That's a show I'd watch.
Oh, that'd be neat to see. I was actually waiting. Well, okay. Well, we won't get into that because that gets into the next episode. But
okay.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the next episode but spoilers, kids, Leia does survive. Okay.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah, so I know that's a big spoiler for this. I think we can say that yes, Leia makes it to the end, and will, in about 10 years turn into Carrie Fisher. So that's perfect. Yes.
I was gonna say she's gonna turn into a brother kisser, but
I wasn't gonna. Look, you never kissed your sister,
No.
Mozz. No, you never kissed your sister. I mean,
No.
not like passionately, but you share a peck with your sister. It's it's your sister.
I guess.
No, okay, I don't.
We hugged.
Yeah, maybe not on the lips, but Look, and it's a thing. It's a thing.
Okay,
it
fair enough. All right.
I'm sure she felt as bad about it as everyone else when she realized, like,
right, of course. I'm just,
that was not what I wanted. And
no,
to be fair, she was never into Luke. That was all. Like, first off, Luke's the one who's like, "Hey, can you give me a kiss for luck?" Because
Luke
is just kind of creepy, quite frankly. But and it's well, because he's been living on the desert for like years, and it's like it's like you're a female, and although I know females, there's only so many females on Tatooine. And Diggs is dating like 3 of them. So, I got the feeling Diggs was kind of the Fonzie of Tatooine. Anyway, where was it? But anyway, getting back to this story. So they're in the place. They're planning their evacuation when all of a sudden, everything the doors lock shut. They can't the bay doors lock shut, and they don't know what the problem is. They have to figure it out. But in the meantime, they realize they need to lock everything else down because they know the Empire is after them. And it's just a little too convenient that all of a sudden the bay doors have shut down on them. And they start preparing for everything. Meanwhile, Riva is meeting with Darth Vader, where she effectively says, we know where he is. We just got to go and get him. and he sends Riva in to get him. And
Well, he's there with her too, right?
yeah. Well, at the start of it, he's staying up in the Star Destroyer. But but the whole
right,
Star
fair enough,
Destroyer goes.
Yeah, I thought he was the one that was responsible for just like force closing the gates.
No. I mean, it's revealed later, but no, that's Lola.
Oh.
Remember the because her eye turned red.
Oh,
to
that's
show
right.
she was
The
evil
robot.
now.
Yeah. Okay.
They put
Right,
a little tiny restraining bolt on her.
Hmm.
Although what I find fascinating is just how obvious restraining bolts are and how easy they are to take off.
And the fact that it wasn't
I
noticed
guess,
before is, I mean, it's just one of those things. That's one of those things. The episode was so good, I'm willing to overlook little subtle,
yeah.
things like
Well,
that.
and I guess the restraining bolt, it was relatively small. It was obviously one made for a smaller droid. So, a
Yeah.
smaller droid needs a smaller
It almost
bolt.
felt like you were watching like an episode of Dora. Where's the inhibitor chip, Dora? And then an arrow comes on the screen pointing to it. Where's the inhibitor? There it is.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say you're wrong. But,
I didn't mind it too bad though.
yes, but it is
How's
kind of
that
cool, and it's also neat, the idea that although again, why are the Jeffries tubes so small? Someone put everything in there, and they're like, I'm not exactly built for going into the tubes. It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have put the tubes, like, built it in such a small space.
Although I'm sure whoever was contracted to build that made it so that only they could fix it, so they would have a lifetime customer.
Had to be the Jawas.
I can see that.
It's like,
Yep.
Yeah, just go in there, they fix it. Yeah,
What are you gonna go fix it? I could do it for a price. Maybe you could stretch her arm really, really far. I don't know.
Yeah, but that makes for a very interesting idea that there are just tiny species that just that's their whole business. They go into small spaces, they fix stuff, and you got to use them because they built it, and they built it so they could get it. And no one is thinking when they're building it,
Right.
What if it breaks down?
Yeah. They only find that out.
Yeah.
Once the price goes up, it's like, oh, that was the introductory price.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's reasonable. Not everyone's looking to go. It's just, you need them because you can't do it yourself. It's like Apple.
Yeah.
If you can't fix it yourself, you're just gonna have to buy a new one. But
right.
Yeah. But I found it very interesting when Riva does get down to the surface, because it does give us our big reveal in this. Now I'm trying to think, did Riva and Obi-Wan meet before this, where she told him who she was, or she didn't, or is this when he's first? I think this is when he's first.
No, they sort of almost came to face to face. They fought a little bit, or she was chasing him when she escaped. When she fought Haja instead. So
yeah, but like she hasn't told him that she was a youngling.
No. He figures it out.
This is when he finds this out. Yeah, and good for him that he's like he's really good at figuring these things out, because that, of course, that is what is important, is that understanding humanity. That's what makes you a Jedi Master, which of course Vader is not. Although Vader, he's trying in this one.
Again, he's too clouded.
Yeah, well, he's good at what he's good at, and it's kind of strikes me, this Vader reminds me a lot of Doctor Doom, where in certain situations he just seems all powerful, but the minute someone has an edge on him, he just crumbles. Because I do think that is a lot of what Vader is that he is, because he is predictable, and that's the other thing that we get throughout this, is we get this flashback scene, which is a really good flashback scene. If you can, I know that there's talk about, they de-euthanized them, I don't know about that, but you let it go, and they're in this fight. Well, it's actually a sparring match, and we can get from this that Anakin has sparred with Obi-Wan a lot, but the whole point of this is to teach Anakin not to give in to his anger and his frustration and his needing to
Ambition.
win. That's not what the Jedi do. Ambition, yes. And it's like, and it is just this idea, and this, I guess, is where you come to that idea about what the Jedi at their best should be, and about the idea of the balance of the Force. That it's not about pushing, it's about letting the Force flow through you and just being a good steward of the Force, and and to that extent, that is where they went wrong, becoming generals and knights and fighting, because that is what pushes the Force out of balance. To that leads to the creation of the Sith, in the sense that the only way that you can have balance when one group is pushing on one end is to have someone else push on the other. And what you need to have the balance of the Force being allowed to flow. And this is what I think Obi-Wan is trying to let him understand, that this pushing isn't going to get him where he wants to be. And there's even a great line in this when Obi-Wan is talking with them, when he realizes what they have to do. He does leave his lightsaber, and this is how you're going to fight him without a weapon. And they say there's other ways to fight people than with a weapon. And then you actually get to that fight between them in the flashback, where yes, Obi-Wan is disarmed, and Anakin's like, you're sort of like, I have the high ground, there's no chance, but exactly then Obi-Wan fights on, and then just forces Vader's lightsaber out of his hand, because that's the point, is that because Vader allows himself to be clouded, because Vader allows himself to only be focusing on what is in front of him and what his goal is, he lets himself get pulled away. He lets himself get pulled in the wrong direction. And because of that, he is easily tricked. He is easily manipulated. Which, in its own way,
like a saber-toothed tiger, right? He gets so specialized, he thinks his power in that moment is focused all on the lightsaber. That's his weapon. He doesn't realize that the ether around them is your weapon as well. And so he can't do that because he's trying to focus it into this. He's not being at one with the flowing Force and using it to his advantage. He's trying to get it to do what he wants it to do in a focused point, like a laser versus a flood,
Yeah. Now, of course, before all this, just to jump back, we do get the big fight where they sort of, and it's actually pretty neat what they do, because they do know that the stormtroopers are coming in, and what they do is they do what you do, which is you make sure that they have a single entry point. You pin them off so that they're coming in, and then you can control their flow. Now, granted, they're still going to overwhelm them, and they know this. They even make reference to this, like, they've got better weapons. There's more of them, but we don't need to. And they really say we don't need to beat them. We just need to outlast them. Which is, of course, a good strategy if you can work it out. That's the thing. I mean, that is arguably where we always run into this problem when any kind of you're getting into this war is, can you outlast them, and how do you get to your end game? In this case, they lose a lot of people, and it is a lot of people dying, including the young woman who was our Imperial
double
officer.
agent.
Our Imperial double agent.
I gotta say that moment where the robot gives his last breath, so to speak, to shield his friend, and he dies, and the hurt in her eyes when he goes, you could tell how long she has been able to rely on that robot, and how many times he's probably saved her. And now even he couldn't do it. Like that moment was so heavy. It was more emotional and more interesting than anything up to that point in the season. And then they take it up a notch with her sacrificing herself. My God, she's an amazing, amazing actor. And that scene was so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Like those two moments were the best directed, best acted, best shot, best everything scenes in this entire series so far.
And you know what I really feel about that is I really feel that it's an aspect of that story that, that Loda robot loved her.
Yeah.
As much as a droid can love someone, and I'm not trying to get into any kind of weird,
right,
droid fetish thing or anything like that. I'm not trying to ship them. I'm trying to say that droid, because you could tell they had that relationship, because even when Leia says, "What if you need to say something?" A couple episodes ago, and the woman says, "You would be your actions speak louder than your words," and this is the whole point of this character. I mean, I'm sad that that great robot had to die, that great droid had to die, but you really felt that robot was going, "If you're going down, boss, I'm going down with you."
Yeah. Yeah. It was like like some people have dogs that are pets and they're good pets, but then some people, you meet somebody that has like a dog that's their friend, right? They have like a different, and that's what that robot was. That robot was, I mean, I guess robots have a different moral sense and a different set of places where their desires are aimed, right? They find purpose in different things. And I think purpose is probably a very important thing to a sentient robot. And her and that robot, he found purpose in her. She gave him purpose and he appreciated it. And he was good at it. And they had a special thing. So, I mean, that was a really powerful moment. They delivered all of that in a couple of simple scenes with acting from a robot. And more so, I guess, how it reflected off of her. But the two of them were really, really special.
Yeah, well, and I've always said this, is that the art of silent acting, it is such an amazing skill. And it is something that I think too many people don't really respect, how you don't need a word to express an emotion. And that even, and again, like I say, like this robot, without even a squeak or a beep, which is unique, because most droids at least get some kind of noise they make. Even a gonk droid does that. The little hamster runners have a noise they make. This one makes no noise whatsoever, but somehow can emote. Somehow, just the I don't know how the CGI artists did it, but honestly, they deserve a raise. Is what I'm going to tell you. Those CGI artists, they deserve a raise.
Remarkable. It's like the subtlety of just like a head nod or a head shake or a shoulder shrug. There's so much that can be delivered in that.
I know. And again, it shows that within the droid's mind, there is life and activity and reality. Yeah, it's, that's the whole thing with Star Wars and their droids, that they are really sentient beings, and well, certainly there is this ownership concept to them. You see so many droids without restraining bolts, which is like they're just there because they exist and this is a job,
That's their purpose.
Yeah, well, it's not even, I guess you can look at it as purpose, but you can also just look at it as, I guess it's the difference between purpose and function.
Ooh.
It's like, the pit droids that that we met in the Mandalorian. I mean, their job, they were built to fix things, so they fix things, but they have a whole life within that too.
Yeah, they have a life that they go to after it.
Well, exactly. They don't only exist to do this, and I think that level of that sentience gives them something more that makes them so much more alive. But at the same time, it's interesting because when you have an artificial life form like that, they can't really die either. You know, they can't, you know, I mean, you could destroy them, but their program can live on, or you can fix them. And that's the thing. And then you get into your whole ship of Theseus thing, you know, if we smash the droid, but put it back together, is it still the same droid? You know?
Right. I mean, even if the data is stored in ones and zeros, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that can be lost.
Yeah.
You can erase a hard drive or damage a hard drive, and then whatever stuff that wasn't copied to the cloud before it happened, you lose your save. We've all experienced it in video games, right? Your little
Yeah.
brother pulls the wire out, you didn't get to a checkpoint, all that progress is gone forever. So I mean,
I,
there must be a certain measure of that once it's gone, it's gone. So in that way, they experience death, like, right?
yeah. Well, yeah. But I think that I think the Star Wars is dealing with these, you know, AI, these droids. And I do think that they are more than just AI, because I kind of feel like there's something about the way droids are put together that goes beyond just programming
Yeah, I think
to
what we
where they're
talked about last episode, I really like that theory, and I think I subscribe to that. That if you believe that human beings, as our meat bodies, are
Mhm.
simply antennae for something that exists somewhere in a dimension that we can't perceive, but this is just our access point to that information, and it reflects through this little television set, so to speak. And if robots are sentient as well, maybe there's another dimensional sort of thing that they're downloading and representing and expressing. And it could be
Yeah.
a different kind of consciousness, but it might be just as elemental what's the word I'm looking, intrinsic to the universe as our consciousnesses are.
Yeah. And I can absolutely see that. It is interesting how it plays out, because, you know, there's something about, like I say, there's something about the droids, and this one, and of course the Mandalorian with the assassin robot that was rebuilt and
Yeah.
then found its own purpose, you know. And it's like, and it's interesting because it still has a purpose, it still has a programming, it still has a function, but it can override its own function, it can understand its own function, and it can move within it can move within the parameters set to lie, if you will, to change what its programming is, to say, I can do this because I'm allowing myself to do this, and I can take this step beyond. Um, so it is really fascinating. I would love to see more droid centric stories.
Hmm.
You know, there is, of course, George Lucas's Droids on Disney Plus. If you want to see what R2D2 and C3PO got up to, I want to say before they wound up on Tatooine. I think there's like a little, and I'm not quite sure when it falls in the canon. I'm not even sure if it's canon anymore, but it was a Saturday morning cartoon with C3PO and R2D2 trying to get back to, not to Master Luke, but to, I think, the guy who owned him before Luke. You know, like they
Hmm.
got separated and they go on all these adventures trying to get back to their boss. So it's an interesting thing. Like I said, I haven't seen it in years, and I don't know how canonical it is, but it is interesting
I would
how
love to
the
see like droid humor. What makes a droid laugh? What makes a droid feel? I wonder what, like, if
yeah.
droids had their own movies and their own sitcoms, what would that look like?
Well, I think it's going to depend a lot on the droid. I think that a protocol droid approaches the world very differently than an
Mm,
astromech,
mm.
and or pitbot, or a little Lola companion. By the way, and I gotta say this, like, one of the weirdest things about the Lola droid is just wondering, oh my gosh, was Lola on Alderaan when it got blown up? Like, why did she not take Lola with her on this diplomatic mission?
Hmm.
Obviously, it makes you sad when you think about that. Like, what happened to Lola? Anyway,
Yeah.
we do get in this Obi-Wan speaking with Riva through the door, sort of, this is where she finds out what he's about, and this is before they break in, because this is where she goes in with the lightsaber, and just honestly, you immediately ask, what was the purpose of these doors?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, but once they do get themselves separated, he Obi-Wan decides he's gonna give himself up. He's gonna go, and he basically goes to her and says, look, I know you want to kill Vader. If you bring him down here, you'll get your chance, because he's not going to see you. He's just going to be focused on me. Now, I do want to say I kind of feel like he double crossed her in this, because he got on that ship
Mm.
and everything he said was true, but immediately it's like, she's like, he's right in here, and then he's not restrained anyway, and he just gets to go, and it's like, obviously Vader is mad about it. Although I I thought it was neat where they do the decoy ship first, because again, Vader's predictable.
Yeah.
They have the ship start to take off, and then you see him do the whole force thing, and he just pulls
That
it
was
down
so
and rips
cool.
the ship open. Oh yeah.
So cool.
Yes, but what's neat about that is, like, you see that, but if you do look in the background, you do see that the other ship is there. So it's not like they were hiding the ship. It was always there, but he just takes it, rips it apart, and then of course, while he's ripping it apart, and he sort of realizes, wait, where is everybody? The other ship just takes off and just shoots out into space, which was cool. And then, of course, Reva and Darth Vader have their big showdown.
Which I thought she would be smarter than that.
Well, I agree. I think I think that, like Vader, she's blinded by her own ambition.
I could see
Blinded
that.
by what she wants. She wants to kill Vader. She wants to hurt Vader.
Yeah, but they
because
spent
Vader
the whole
killed-
entire series convincing her that she's so clever and so smart and
Yeah.
so methodical, that she's been for 20 years, or I don't know how old she is, but since she's been holding it back, not letting it out to anybody. She's been playing the part, and all of a sudden at the very end, she's just like,
Well,
like,
yeah, I mean, I think, and again, it's because her rage got the better of her, just like it does
I
for all
guess.
dark side practitioners. It
Yeah.
gets the better of you, because if you think about it, like, had she not come at him with a big swipe, had she just sort of just walked up behind him and then just a lightsaber,
yeah,
someone-
slow, just I can't believe he got away, boss.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
what
my
you
gosh.
do.
Yeah, it would have been smart. Says, he must have used
Or-
a Jedi mind trick on someone or something.
Or it would have been
You know?
cool if they showed her like being affected by Obi-Wan's betrayal. It's like, oh my god, he's leaving. Oh my god, he goes, and then she goes into a fit of
Yeah.
rage and goes, that would have been cool. Like I wanted more from that moment. If you're gonna make it that simple, give me a little bit more of a reason to watch her get there, and then I'd buy it. But I thought it was a little.
I mean, I guess you know what it came down to, and it's the old Thor thing. He wanted to make the speech. She wanted to, like, have him know what happened. Because if you think about it, she could have, as he's doing this, she could have come and taken out his knees. Yeah,
exactly. A whole host of things.
Yeah, but she needed him to know what was happening. She needed to feel that he understood she needed him to know that she was the one doing it and why. Yeah. And of course that was her mistake, because that's the thing. When you're trying to make when you start monologuing, when you get into your villain mode, and you say, "Ha! You see, I was the one who you had to fear all along." And of course, it gets to that very end after Vader has just completely wiped the floor with her, and he says, "Did you really think I didn't know? You know, it's like, of course yes, I remember you. I remember killing all of your friends. You know, when you showed up, I sensed your rage. I knew who you were, but I thought maybe we can work with this. You know, she's got a lot of anger. I got a lot of anger too, you know, and hey, I was the chosen one. Maybe I can get to this young woman, make her understand why
do,
what we did was what we had to do.
do you think that was it, or did he keep her around for amusement?
No, I don't think Vader gets amused. I think
Oh.
I think I think Vader kept her around because, well, Vader in general did not like the Inquisitors, as I understand it, like canonically, because it's like, it's the rule of two. There's only supposed to be a master and an apprentice. But I think that this with this one specifically, but I think with them in general, I think he probably saw maybe a kindred spirit, someone that was filled with anger and rage.
Hmm.
Because, as she said, and she's right about the Jedi, she's right. Where were the Jedi? They were supposed to protect us, and they did not. They did nothing. And that is the truth, there was lots of ways they could have dealt with the Anakin problem. There's lots of ways they could have dealt with the Palpatine problem. They chose not to.
Yeah, that and to maybe she has a point that they did not know how to properly raise that child, to educate that child.
Yeah.
I mean, like, consider him like a special needs kid, right? You need someone who understands how to deal with a special needs kid, and they just let a decent teacher who's a good teacher for all the other kids, and they're like, hey, maybe you can do, and he was not prepared,
Yeah.
and that was their failing.
Well, and I think that basically the entire premise of the Jedi, with their taking these children at such a young age, is such a flawed idea.
Hmm.
And that, even when we have Obi-Wan talking about it, like, I think I had a brother, or I think there was
Hmm.
another child, it's like he doesn't even know who his family was. And you think about these kids just taken from their families as children, and then, you know, raised in this cult to be Jedi warriors, it does, it could sound unseemly when you think about it. And I think that the more especially when you suffer that defeat and you realize, man, I did not have to be there. I could have been home with whatever my family was, and they took me there. Um, we get the return of the Grand Inquisitor.
Hmm.
So, reports of his death were greatly exaggerated. As I think I had made a point, it's like, the guy's already got robot parts. It's like, like getting stabbed in the stomach, that's like the least fatal way to die.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed in Riva that she didn't cut his head off. That's again, it flies in the face of what that character, I think, would have done.
Yeah, well, because I think on some level she felt it was enough, and she didn't want to overdo it because she wanted to blame Kenobi for it.
Sure. Yeah, I can. Yeah. Yeah.
And if everyone tells her he's dead, then it worked. If she thinks he's dead and everyone tells her she's dead,
You make
which actually
sure. You don't
suggests,
think. You make sure.
I mean, I agree, but then the story doesn't happen.
I guess.
It's like, but along those same lines, they leave Riva alive too.
Again, it must be for a reason.
Well,
He knows.
I think the reason is what they said was that you're not worth killing. That, the only thing that you were, you're never gonna. And honestly, I mean, it's kind of foolish because they clearly have killed younglings. We saw they had that little youngling in the tomb. So I guess maybe this was sort of their, you killed a lot of Jedi for us, and you know what? We do respect what you did. Consider this your golden parachute. We're going to stab you a little and leave you in the dust.
Yeah, the
Because
only
you
thing
know
that makes
what?
sense to me is like, oh, she's going to be useful down the road.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
probably because obviously she could be, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because here's the thing, no matter what she chooses to do next, it's not like she can join the rebellion. She just killed a bunch of people in the rebellion. Nobody is going to welcome her in. And she's on the outs with the Empire, so she's nothing she can do with them. You know, I mean, really, what could she possibly do?
Be a bounty
Because no
hunter.
matter where she goes for the rest of her life, she's branded.
Right.
If you ever saw that old cowboy show, branded. Um, anyway, but yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
just
she'd make a great bounty hunter. A gun for hire, an assassin, you know?
she could do that. You know, there are places in the Outer Rims where she could ply her trade. You know, but you know, it's also just the idea that her only option. Her option is not to be any person that gets to have a life. It's just
Right.
you're going to be hated no matter where you go. And let's face it, even the bounty hunters, most of them have limits, you know,
Mhm.
because because when you get down to it, even the people that were former Imperials, they're going to look at her and say, "Oh yeah, you betrayed the Empire. You know, you led your people to slaughter for no good reason. Maybe you wanted them dead. Maybe you wanted those stormtroopers dead."
Yeah, I mean, I
And
don't know. If I need somebody gotten, if I need somebody gone, it seems like a pretty effective person to carry that out.
could be. And now of course, and of course, to help the story happen, she finds the little communicator from
Mm.
Senator Organa, where she hears the child on Tatooine and Owen, and so now she knows what she has to do. So we have to see what she does with all of that next
And
episode.
the episode ends with a nice little shot of a sleeping young man, a child
who was
rather.
the child? Oh, a child sleeping. Yeah. Well, you know, because that's the hope. That's the
Mm.
hope, is that they're going to get away, they're going to survive, and the little child gets to sleep.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right,
I mean,
Mozzie.
that's Luke, right? At the end there.
Oh, Luke. Oh,
Right.
okay. I didn't. I forgot exactly how it ended. So
Yeah.
yes. Sorry, Maz. I didn't
No, no
know.
worries.
Yes. Yeah, little Luke. He's
So
sleeping.
hopefully you get your wish fulfilled at the very last episode. Although that's the last episode, today's episode, right?
Today's episode, yeah, episode 6 is the last one. We'll talk about it next week.
Hmm.
You get to find out how Obi-Wan gets out of this wacky mess. Yeah, and hopefully people have watched this and enjoyed this. And if you've already watched the final episode and would like to give us your thoughts on that, you can always write to us at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. That's CapesandLunatics, all spelled out, all one word, at gmail.com. You can also call us, leave us a voicemail where you can give us your thoughts and we can play them on the air at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And of course, go down to our show notes, click on Linktree, linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics. And there you're going to see all of our merch, our aluminum mugs, wonderful t-shirts, phone cases, and the ability to give us money in the Patreon, which will get you exclusive content, including video and voting on the worst superhero movie of all time this week, Superman 3 versus Superman 4, which really was the best Superman of all time and which was the worst. All right. Maz, if people have any thoughts on that and they'd like to share them with you, how can they find you?
If anybody wants to write to me and tell me that Superman 3 is the best Superman movie of all time, they can reach me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And of course, you can always write to me in that same old-fashioned email way the way our mothers and fathers once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things when I feel like it, at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing.
Thank you, Mozz. All right, you filthy landlubbers. You come to the end of another raucous night, tossed in tempest-tossed television, as we once again sail full stream ahead.
Yarg. All right.
All right. Okay.